أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Welcome back to another episode
of Qur'an with our friends.
This time we're talking about mindset, but positive mindset, because a lot of times in life, you know, I have this one person that every time I ask him, how are you? He said, oh, this is hurting, or this is hurting. It just drains every part of you. But I thought, okay, no, we need to have some positivity in this world.
Very true. I'm a teacher by profession, and there's one friend who teaches with us. Whenever I have a conversation with him, I've never heard a positive word from him. It's always too much marking. This teacher said that, this student did this. And I realize it actually has an impact on us. And naturally, we also become a bit sad when that happens. Similarly, whenever we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have a group within our friend circle or within our communities who have a similar outlook. Whenever we talk, if you don't pray, Allah will punish you. If you don't fast, Allah will be angry. If you don't give zakat, X, Y, Z. It's never the opposite. It's never if you pray, Allah will be so happy with you. And normally when you start to have children and you start to have a family, you realize that now you can choose the way you depict Allah to this child's eyes. And what will Allah be in their heart? And I think that we've slowly started to learn.
Yeah, it's so true. Because if you actually think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes himself more positively than negatively. Like Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Almost every surah in the Quran starts with his Rahman and Rahim. And there's so much that he talks about his mercy, and we've heard a lot about it, right? He want all those things about he won't write a sin for you and gives you time for you to ask for forgiveness, but whereas he's so in a hurry to write good deeds for you. So we need to actually change that rhetoric. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually very, very merciful, and we need to just believe it and inculcate it in ourselves.
Ahsan. And that just goes to show that if He wants to show Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a positive, in a merciful, in a beautiful way to us, then why do we change that? And why do we scaremonger within our community and our families as well?
Yeah.
He Himself has said in the Qur'an a beautiful verse. Bismillah.
So this is actually my favorite verse. One of my favorite verses, because it just gives you so much hope in life and so much positivity, because we are humans and we will make mistakes, but it doesn't mean that we will end in hellfire, because there's always hope. So this verse goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل يا عبادي الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله
إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
And it just is full of hope. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh my servants who have asrafu,
transgressed against themselves. This time Allah calls His servants, but normally servants are the ones who pray. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. No. These are what type of servants? This is what gives us hope. It's those servants who have wronged themselves, those servants who have sinned. But the beauty with Allah is that there's always a way back to Him.
لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not despair in the rahmah of Allah. It's so beautiful that He's saying, regardless, He doesn't put any clauses here that if you've not done those greater sins, then do not despair. It's asrafu ala anfusihim. It's just generic. Do not despair in the mercy of Allah. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba
Jami'a.
Everything. Innahu huwal ghafur rahim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the forgiver of all sins. Surely He is the forgiver and the most merciful.
Now, here we have Ghafur Rahim. Remember, we have Rahman and Rahim. So we have that Rahmah which is generic to everyone. Whether there's an atheist or there is an animal or there is a believer, they all get this mercy from Allah, this Rahmah. They all have air to breathe and food to eat and shelter, X, Y, Z. Those are the general mercy that Allah gives everyone. But then there's Rahim. that special mercy which Allah gives to His most beloved. And of course, He has also saved that for us on the day of Qiyamah. The hadith says that when Allah was creating, He created everything, and He created rahmah, mercy, and He divided it into 100 parts. And with just one part, He created the heavens and the earth and everything that is within. As for the other 99, He has saved that for you and I so that we can enter Jannah on Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah. Now, how do we attain that special mercy? There's a reason why in the Qur'an every word is put specifically. There's a reason why Ghafoor comes before Rahim. Because first we must seek His forgiveness, and then we can, inshallah, be able to attain that beautiful mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ahsantum. That's so beautiful. And now just going back to how we perceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can you not love a God like this? That He's just put everything there so that we can be successful, that He can, we're in His mercy. And if you think about this, you have, in teaching terms, you have one teacher like Mohamed, brother Mohamed, who is like friendly with the students and who just wants them to do so well in life. Then you have another teacher on the other hand that just is miserable all the time and wants to punish you and finds every small thing to punish you about. Which teacher will you want to spend time with? Of course, the likes of brother Mohammed. So similarly, we've growing up naturally, we've been taught about this God that is punishing, and like every small thing that we don't do will be punished about. Naturally, we'll be afraid about that God. But why don't we just learn more about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and teach that and talk about that within amongst our friend circles, with our parents, with our kids, and just generally in the mosque and otherwise, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really wants us to pass. Naturally we'll want to levitate towards that Lord, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I think often we forget the rahmah that Allah has given us, because it's like for someone who wears glasses, taking Imran's example, someone who works in the optics world. When you wear glasses, initially you realize that you're looking at a lens whilst you're looking at something else. But then you wear it so often that you don't realize you're looking through a lens to look at something. So these mercies of Allah are so evident everywhere that we forget that we're being blessed by Allah and we become ignorant. And therefore we need to clean our lenses. Imran will show us how to do that. But also then be able to see correctly and be grateful to Allah. With that gratefulness, inshallah, will come that mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ahsantum. So just to finish off, a couple of things to bear in mind when we're reciting this beautiful verse is there are a lot of ayns in this verse. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. How do you pronounce the letter ayn properly? So the letter ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. We're capturing the air and pronouncing ah. Now, a lot of times it gets difficult. Either we're under-pronouncing and pronouncing as alif or hamza, or we're over-pronouncing and it doesn't sound right. Now, think about this. Remember when you go to the doctor and the doctor takes that wooden piece and sticks on your tongue and tells you to say ah. And then initially it's easy, and then until he sticks it further down, and then you have to say ah. Now that is the letter ayn that we want. Ya ibadi alladhina. Now I don't want you to call me and say, oh, I've got a wooden stick stuck down my throat. Don't do that. But just take that as an example. Ala anfusihim. Now the next, the tajweed rule that I want to bring to mind is noon and fa. There's a fa coming after the noon here at anfusihim. Now that's called ikhfa. Now we need to make sure when we see quite a few ikhfa letters, when we come across a fa after a noon, we have to apply a ghunna and stress on it 2 counts. So it would be anfusihim. Now when we're reciting fast, it's easy to overcome it and say anfusihim, but we need to make sure we're applying a ghunna there. Now the trick over here to apply the ghunna correctly is when you're stretching on the noon, make sure your mouth is in the shape of the letter after. So anfusihim. So you see my mouth is in the shape of the fa thereafter. Don't make sure it's in that shape rather than any other shape, otherwise you just distort that pronunciation. And with that, that's the end of another beautiful episode where we talk about the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did and benefited as much as we did. Barakallahu li wa lakum.
Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون.